go home, yeah?
Yeah, ready to go home and just get in a Christmas mood. Yeah, that's gonna be very nice.
Gonna get a tree
Oh,
and
and
everything, no?
yeah, I had been looking so much forward to snow here in Norway, and people told me that for sure I would see snow during November, but it didn't really happen. I mean, I've seen some like frosty things on the ground, but it hasn't been like full on snowing, so I'm a little bit disappointed in that.
You should have been in
But it could
Romania
snow.
because we got some snow yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really
Well,
nice, but we have.
maybe it will snow in Denmark.
There's nothing left now because it was too watery, but it was really nice while it was snowing.
Pretty. Yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. Maybe we will have a white Christmas this year. Didn't have one last year.
That would be great. And maybe we should just mention that we can't change the title on Twitch.
On Twitch, yeah. We'll probably have to keep mentioning that because again, we show up as the Skilling Open, which obviously finished yesterday. So, very sorry about that. We are looking at King hands, and today we will look at games of Neshmetinov. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. You guys let us know how we're supposed to pronounce it. But yes, we will be looking at some very nice games. I actually had I don't know if you saw it, Sophie. I had a quiz on my Instagram stories this week for people to get to know Neshmetinov a little bit.
I think I saw something, but I don't think I answered it because I didn't know the answer.
Oh, it was just for fun, just to, you know. So, well, a few things for people who don't know this. Neshmetinov was not a grandmaster. He was only an international master. He never achieved the GM title during his life. He played only once outside the Soviet Union, and they say that this is one of the reasons that he couldn't really play very much stronger players from the rest of the world and couldn't get the title. He only played once in Bucharest. Nice coincidence. And he came in second after Korchnoi in that tournament. What else? Well, he beat a number of strong people during his life. He beat Spassky. He beat he had a plus score versus Stahl. The overall score.
That's pretty. Then you're pretty good.
He was pretty good, yes.
Yeah.
He was pretty good, yeah. But he performed very badly against solid players like Petrosian, for example, against Korchnoi, when he couldn't get the type of positions he wanted. And I think Averbach is the one who said that when he couldn't get attacking positions, he would just try to get them and he would make his position worse. And
that's like a lesson very specific for me, just on a level.
Sometimes it happens, no? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and he won the Russian championship 5 times. Harish is right. Yeah.
So it sounds like he definitely had the strength of a GM, just didn't the opportunity to win enough.
Yeah, I think he didn't have the opportunity to get the GM title. And we are going to start with this position, which is actually a tactic. It's white to play here. This is a game of Neshmetinov versus Kotkov that he, of course, won. I have many nice games prepared for you today. I hope we can see them all. If not in depth, just a little bit. Yes, he was a very imaginative player, and they called him the how was it? No rear, no break, Rashid? How was it the nickname?
No break?
No rear gear, I think. It was how they called him.
Yeah, I've heard that expression a few times lately. Okay, so this is where to move and find a tactic?
Yes. No reverse gear, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like it should be an attacking move. I really like White's position. I'm just trying to. We didn't even say okay. Just have a good position.
Yeah, I have to say that you're right. We have a good position, even without the tactic that he played. But
yeah, because if there weren't any tactics, I would probably just consider to play something like Rook E7. Looks good. Maybe putting. I mean, the bishop might be better placed in C4, but I think I should look at something more aggressive. There are not any. Oh, there are a few checks. There's a check on E7 that could be interesting, but it's not the ideal. I mean, it's kind of where my rook went. Because here I don't see. Maybe I could sacrifice my knight, but it feels like the king is somewhat safer in H8. So not sure I like this. Check on F6 looks very stupid. What else? If we could reflect the rook somehow, we could win a queen with the rook E8, but I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah, that's not possible. No, but here I have to say that the moves you mentioned, something like you said that the bishop would be better on C4.
Yeah.
I think that's a good move here. And rook E7 cannot be bad, but on rook E7 you have to calculate a bit because there's a knight E5.
That's true, yeah.
So that has to be calculated, no? White is still much better after that because you will sacrifice on E5, but I think you have to find some precise moves after rook E7. And there is a tactic. How about you guys? What do you think? What did Neshmetinov play here with white? For everybody watching us on Twitch, yes, there is a problem with the title that we cannot fix. So we are waiting for someone to fix it for us, if possible. The skilling open is over. Yeah.
Just gonna see. Queen E2 is being suggested. I think it's not a bad move, but again, I think it's very like a positional move. No retreat, Nessie. No retreat, Nessie. Hello. Okay, I'm just gonna see if Twitch has something.
Yes.
C7, knight C7. Okay, let's just take a look at that. If two people are suggesting it, it must be good. Okay, let's see. We can take here. Then he has to take. Otherwise, it's just a free pawn and d6 will fall.
True.
And when he takes with the queen, then then I can give a queen check on d5 and then take on d6 with the bishop.
Yeah, something like that. Knight c7 is what he played. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are right about this. Queen c7, now queen d5, king h8. Okay, now you have to find the move. Bishop takes d6 is a strong candidate, but it's not the only one. What are we going to play?
Rook e8 looks good as well. Going here with the rook, he can't take because then he's going to... Can he take? It looks very dangerous to take. If he take, I take back. He can maybe put his knight in between, but I think then we could just take that and play bishop b2 in the end.
Or just take on d6?
Or to just take on d6.
I think that can also be played. Bishop d6 and then f8 will fall.
Take, yeah.
Probably.
What if he does not? If he doesn't take, then we will take. And like, let's say he plays something. Maybe he want to play this move. If we play rook e8 and then he tries to exchange queens, then I could take the rook with check. He could take back with probably the knight. And I'm not so sure.
Let's see it. Rook e8 is the move. Bishop d6 is not so precise here because black has this move, which saves the day.
Yeah.
So you don't have a good square for the queen, somewhere to go and keep the bishop defended and not trade queens. That's what I mean by that. And if queen c5, okay, this position you will take on f8, but it's not clear at all. I think black has good compensation.
Yeah, the bishop here looks good.
So let's see rook e8. Yes, we are reading the chat and we are looking at rook e8 now. Let's see, knight f6 is what he played. Yeah, you are right about rook takes e8, Sophie. Here rook e8 would be losing probably after rook takes. You are looking at knight f8, and here we were talking about bishop d6, but that's not the only move. We also have this move, yes, bishop c4.
Yeah, that looks very good.
To mate on g8.
Yeah.
That looks like, yeah, completely winning.
Yeah, that's not possible, I think, to defend from.
No, probably over. So he went for knight f6 in the game. Now I have my queen and my rook under attack. I will have to take on f8, no, otherwise I'm losing material. Bishop f8, and what do we do here?
Bishop b2.
Yes, bishop b2 is what we do here. We bring the bishop on a better diagonal. He goes bishop g7. The knight was pinned, no, the queen was in no danger. And what do we do here?
I think we take the knight and play rook e8 and then queen g8.
Sorry, we take the knight?
Take the knight first. Oh, I'm just gonna make the errors here. If we take the knight and he takes back, then giving a check down here with the rook. And oh, he can't. Yeah, then he has to go to g7. And then my idea was to go for something, put some piece on g8. Maybe it should be the, maybe he can just hide on h6 then.
Looks like it, yeah?
Yeah. I don't want to lose
it. Looks like
it.
the king will be very safe on h6, yeah.
Yeah, here. Okay, then maybe we don't.
What else do we have here? Okay, I see a nice suggestion in the Twitch chat.
I'm gonna go see what the. Okay, I'm just YouTube.
YouTube also has it, yes.
Rook e7. Or bishop c4. Bishop c4. I think I prefer bishop c4 out of those moves, and c4 bishop.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the only move here to keep the advantage and keep the attack going. And it's the idea is really nice, no? Because this mate, I think, is very pretty. We have to show it. Knight d5 and rook e8. It's game over. So the queen cannot be taken. So what can he do? He played bishop d7 in the game. Makes sense to defend e8. And now he takes on f6. Okay, not the only move. Queen f7 was also working in this position. I'm going to show it in a moment. Just don't want to spoil the ending here. Bishop f6. Now queen f7. And here black played queen d8, which is the final mistake. Why is that a mistake?
I think we can play... No, I just had to... I think we can play rook e8, and if he takes with the bishop, it's mate on g8, and if he takes with the queen, we can capture an f6, and that's...
Also mate.
Checkmate. Yeah.
Yeah, rook e8, and that's how the game ended. Beautiful,
that's
beautiful
nice
finish. Very nice, yes, I agree. And let me show you this idea here with queen f7. This can also be played, no? Because we attack the knight, we might want rook e7. But what happens if black goes rook f8? What do we do here?
We take it. No, it's checkmate after if we... Queen takes f8, bishop takes f8, bishop takes f6. That's checkmate, right?
No.
It's not. Why is it not checkmate?
Because of bishop g7.
I
Bishops
can
can
go
go
back.
back, yes.
Not even back, just forward. Yeah, I think in my mind it was still a rook and f8, but then still it would have made sense. What then?
What then? Yes. What then?
What then? It would have been nice to have, like, if we had a knight on g5, we could make a smothered mate maybe, but we don't have a knight. We only have a queen and two bishops and a rook. Okay, so you can't take the rook, can't take the...
Okay, I have to say that the Twitch chat has the move here.
You just have to move.
Bingo.
Twitch has to move.
Yes.
I think it's a cooler move than just...
Okay, and Charlie
Queen
also
F8.
has the move. Yes, and I see more people on YouTube.
Rook e8. Rook e8, and if he takes with the... the queen is hanging on c7.
Beautiful ideas, no?
Yes, a lot of ideas combined here. I like that.
Rook e8 so many times. Yes, amazing. This move, rook e8, is beautiful. Bishop e8, we take on c7. And it's game over. Okay, we're not going to mate, but we are happy with just the queen.
Yeah, just the queen.
Just the queen, yes. And if he takes with something else, like rook takes, then this will be mate. Bishop f6.
Yeah.
There's a check on e1 and the d5 check, but it will be over, no? After king h2 and d3. So that's everything black has, no more. I go g3 here, and it's still over.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's see the next one. Let's see the next game. I will show you. Next is his historical win against Polugaevsky. This is an amazing game. He beat him
and
twice.
Hi, Johan, in the YouTube chat.
Hey, Johan. Yes. How are you? Welcome. I think you'll also enjoy this lesson because Johan is also an attacking player. So this is we will see this from Black's perspective. It's Neshmetino with Black. And well, I started it from here, right out after the opening. Nothing is happening because I wanted to show you how he also builds the attack. No, it's not only the tactics. The tactics have to start from somewhere. So here he goes knight g4, knight e2, and here queen h4. Okay, you are not allowed to castle yet. He's attacking on f2 and hitting on h2 at the same time. And here white probably has to go something like g3, which does not look great, but the idea is that you don't have queen h3 with black either, because knight f4 is coming. So okay, that should be fine. Still, you could go queen h6, trade queens and play for f5. This is an interesting idea that black could play for here. Very complicated position.
Yeah.
But here white goes knight g3. And knight g3 we'll see is not so great because this knight is a bit in the way of black's pieces. So here he goes knight e5, centralize the pieces, castle, and f5. And this is the idea that now the knight on g3 is in the way of the pawn. f3, and now bishop h6. Bring all the pieces, no? Queen d1, f4. And suddenly we have an attacking position. Knight e2 and g5, no? If we said A, we have to say B. Of course, we want to play g4, and it's not much white can do here. And I will show you why. Because h3, there are always ideas with bishop takes h3, no? Hanging in the air. I think it works right away. Bishop h3, pawn takes.
Yeah, it looks very convincing.
Looks really good, no? Because g4 is coming. Yeah, you open the g file. It looks very strong. So here he goes knight d5. And Rashid does not care and goes g4. It's not the only move again. I think here he could also start by rook f7, which is a move that you see many times in these structures. You want to bring the rook to g7 and also control the 7th rank. But okay, if he can go g4, why not go g4? Now let's see what happens if white is greedy and takes this pawn. What do we do now?
It seems very very brave move by white.
He didn't play this. No, he was not this brave in the game. But
okay, I just thought that was very okay. I mean, it looks very logical to try to open the G file, but just not try, but just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they tag back, I don't know if it's too slow, but then just bring up the rook here. I guess we don't mind that much about losing the rook on e8 if we can.
If we get mate, no?
Rook here. He goes here. I haven't found the checkmate yet, but then knight here, even sacrificing the rook on g7. But it just feels like it's very hard to.
No, I think that can work. What you are looking at should also work. Take on f3 and bring the rook over. But
yeah,
g3, the move that Charlie is suggesting in the chat.
I was just afraid that it would shut everything down. Is like if we play then we take an h3, of course.
That's the thing, yes. And this is a very common theme in the King's Indian, as people are saying in the Twitch chat. And Charlie, who's been paying attention to my lessons on the King's Indian, knows it also. I showed this in one of the streams for the World Chess Schools. We had a lesson on the King's Indian and we saw this attack. And here on h3, you go bishop takes h3 and it's over. Takes, queen h3, there goes queen h2 and it's mate, yeah?
That's
that's very brief. Okay, so knight takes c7 is too optimistic here. And white played g3 in the game. And this is the best defense. g3 looks awkward, but you cannot allow g3. No, it's just the option is
the tempo on the queen.
Yeah. So here he takes, puts the queen on h3, and white goes f4. Okay, so what do we do now? Looks like white is holding on.
What is he gonna play? If we play knight f3, does he just want to go rook f2? I guess that's the
knight f3. Yes, king f2, and he's going to hide on e3.
He's gonna one with the king. Could we?
So this is what Sophie was saying, king f2, and if queen h2, the king hides here on e3. And actually in that position, I will show it, black is in trouble because rook h1 is coming.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We've weakened our king as well.
So what can we do here?
Could we take? I don't think we can take, because he can take with this knight, and then our queen is under attack. I wanted to make him take with the knight on e2 to remove the protection from g3, but I don't think I can force him to do that. I can only find very slow plans right now. Also, our knight is under attack, but maybe we should.
Yeah, that's a good point. The knight is under attack.
Let's take here, and then he has to take back, and then we get another move. But I don't know. I mean, it's not so easy to get the c6 knight into action, and
yeah, you also lose an important piece. No, the bishop becomes open. You don't really.
Yeah, maybe I just have to move the knight then instead of capturing anything. Just move it here and see if we can get to take an f4 and maybe. I mean, I really wanted to go with something like h5, h4, but it seems very slow, and I have to spend time moving my bishop first.
Yeah, you have to move many pieces. No, the following move is not easy at all. This is, I think, a very difficult move to find here with black.
I'm gonna see if there are anybody in the
No,
YouTube.
nobody has it. Nobody has it yet. Not yet.
He's asking if you can show that variation, maybe the one where the king hides on e3.
I will
Bishop
show
f4.
that, yes.
Bishop f4 is, that's what I was looking at, but it's not. He can just take back with the knight, and knight d captures on f4, and then the queen is under attack, and he's still protecting g3. So I don't think that's it. I couldn't get that to work.
Okay,
and
so
what
here
about switch?
We have an idea here that if the pawn takes on e5, then the bishop will open. And we have this bishop e3, which is a very subtle idea. So here he goes bishop e6.
He goes, sorry, I just have to see it. He goes bishop e6.
Bishop e6, yes. The point is that if they take the knight,
Yes.
then we take on d5, and bishop e3 is mate. I think this is an amazing find, no, for black.
Yes.
Bishop e6 is an amazing move in this position. Let me show you knight f3. Because here knight f3, let's see this line. This is interesting because after knight f3, black is losing. Amazing. King f2. But rook h1 is coming, and this is a big problem now for black.
You wouldn't think that e3 is such a good
you wouldn't know.
hiding spot for the. Could we go something in that position just before we play queen h2? What would happen if we play? I could maybe take with the bishop. I was looking at knight e5, knight c to e5, just to, if we could open up the bishop on h6, so that, but he can probably just take with the bishop.
Or not take? What if I play rook h1 here?
Yeah, that's a problem still.
I think I can go rook h1, yes?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can too.
That can be...
Knight f3 is not working at all.
No, knight f3 does not work here. Bishop e6 is the only move. These are the most difficult moves to find, in my opinion. Okay, so f takes e5 loses, and bishop takes e5 was white's best defense, and again, only defense. Very difficult to find. And the idea is that he has to play king f2 in this position, and again, find a hiding spot here in the middle of the board.
Yeah. Which doesn't look very nice.
It doesn't, but it's safe. It's still very complicated, no? But in the game, black got very good play. After bishop e6, white went bishop c2. And here rook f7. He's preparing for rook g7, maybe bring the other rook. White goes king f2 here. Check. And here king e3. He takes on d5, remove this strong knight. Pawn takes, and here he goes knight b4. Okay, so far everything's fine. The position looks wild, but it seems that white is still fine. And here I think the only move was a3 in this position to keep going, but he goes rook h1, which feels natural. And this move loses now. Why does this move lose? How do we play here?
This looks like a move we have to look at. If he takes the bishop, we can give a check, and I just don't believe that his king can really be all that safe here, but maybe he can actually.
It's not. It's over already.
over, but I'm just looking for, this is when I maybe have to find the more quiet moves.
Yes, this is the famous game against Polugaevsky. Neshmetinov.
Okay, so the queen is, we have to move the queen to g2. It's almost, he's like forcing us to do that.
Do we really have to move the queen here?
Maybe we capture this one first. Let's check. I'm just gonna remove so it's not so confusing. Could take here first because it's a check, and then when he takes back, maybe now it's working better. This check here. I think I'm looking at the wrong check here and take.
Someone's saying that only Neshmetinov can find the move. Maybe. And we still have another move. So we have queen g2, we have the check, knight takes c2. Come on, I have faith. I know you can do this. Okay, and we got one good suggestion in the YouTube chat.
We could here. Okay, here's a check. You can take. Maybe that's okay. Like this. Well.
Bishop f4, gf4, no?
Yes. There's also a check here, but then he can take with the queen or the pawn. There's a check here, but he can take that, and it's not. Probably doesn't do anything. I have to look at the.
Yes, and now Twitch also has it.
Rook f4.
Yeah, and rook f4 is the move, yes.
Rook f4.
Rook f4. Big surprise. Let's see the lines a bit. We will see rook takes h2 last because that's the game. And let's see pawn takes f4. In that case, you take on f4 and c2 is hanging in the end. Knight f4 and knight c2.
Oh, it's with check, so it is good enough. Yeah.
yes, it's check, and white has to take with the queen. If he takes with the knight, well, we could take on c2. We could take on g3, and then take on f4. This is easy, probably the easiest of all. And if rook takes h2, then we have rook f3. And this famous king hunt, bishop g7 here. Bring all the pieces. He's preparing the mate. White goes a4. Here comes c5. Now if I move the knight right now, the king goes to c4. So he goes here. And now c5 is a threat. That's mate. White has to go bishop d3, prepares king c3 in case of c5. Oh, here the king runs away, but we take on d3 now. King c4, and he goes d5.
Could have even taken on b2 there, right?
For sure, yes. Knight b2 should be winning, but d5 leads to mate.
Yeah.
Pawn takes d5, king b5, another check here, king a5, now knight c6, and rook b6 will be mate. Well, here white resigned, but let's see the mate. You have various mates. Sorry?
You resigned just the move before going king a6?
Yes.
That's a little too, that's not so...
Fair play.
to make the checkmate on the board.
after all this king hunt, no, it would be fair to leave to allow him to mate on the board.
Yeah, I think so. With a knight.
Yeah, this is a very famous game. That's why many of you might have seen it, and rook f4 looks familiar here. This is a very famous tactic, rook f4 followed by mate.
It's such a nice move because I have a thing with, I think that's normal, but so mostly just look at checks, especially when your queen is hanging. You just want to, if you look for any intermediate moves, it's only checks, but this is so nice because it's
preparing the mate, yeah?
A silent move, but it's not a check either, so it's just allowing white to take an h2.
Yeah, he has many amazing ideas in his games. Let's see some more. Yes. Let's see this game against Boleslavsky. This is a game that I liked a lot because, again, it starts in a very normal middle game where it's black to play. Let's try to find some ideas here before I show you how he approached this. How would you guys play here? What would be a plan for black? How would you play this, Sophie?
I think he's already done some action on the queen side with the pawns in b5 and a5, so it could be an idea to try to push them even further, maybe going for b4 to open up some lines for the rooks, like maybe getting the other rook, the rook on e8, getting that to b8 and try to play on those files. I'm not so sure with what pieces we want to exchange here, because normally you want to keep the bishop on g7, but it's not, maybe it will become good one day, but right now it's not a very good piece. So I think I would even consider, I never play those plans, but it's just because white's bishop here looks pretty active on c5. So maybe we want to try to get rid of that. But I think my first idea would be to try to push these pawns and maybe putting my rooks over here and just play on that side of the board.
Play on a queen side. No, that looks normal. Also, yes, try to exchange the bishop with bishop f8 is an idea. Or another idea that when I saw this position, I was thinking about a4, no, and maybe bring my knight to c4.
Yeah, that's also
improve my position, but it looks like I want to play on the queen side. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how he plays this.
It's very
He goes knight d8 here.
Okay, so he's trying to get that to the king side instead.
Yes, and this is a very strong move as well, because this is this knight on f4 will be very powerful. So knight e6 and knight f4 looks forced. No, knight e6 attacks the bishop, and then knight f4 will happen. And white doesn't have time to bring the knight into the game either, because, for example, on knight e3 we go knight e6, and the bishop has to go to a3. Sorry. Now here I would go here, and the bishop on a3 does not look good. There's always the threat of b4. Maybe I could go queen b7 here in this position, attack e4 and threaten to go b4. So, okay, here white plays a4. Makes sense. Try to create some weaknesses, and bishop and queen b7. Queen b7, because the idea is that I want my queen on the b file. Maybe I will attack on b2, but another idea that black has here is to put the bishop on c6 and attack the pawn on e4. For example, here knight e3 does not knight e3 does not work either, because, well, here it's even worse. We are actually trapping the bishop after b4. So he has to take on, well, he doesn't have to take on b5, but I'm not sure what else he can play here. What white can do. Pawn takes b5. Makes sense. Bishop takes b5. And now he plays bishop a3. Oh, that's okay. My bishop is not getting trapped. So next, maybe knight e3 is coming. So what are we going to do
and you're
here?
protecting.
Sorry?
Yeah, and it's protecting b2 as well.
Yes, yeah, in case bishop takes f1 or something like that. Couldn't white go bishop e3 instead? Yes, on knight e6 bishop e3 was possible, but when exactly bishop e3? Queen b7. If knight e3, then the bishop has to go to a3, and in case of here maybe if I go knight e6 bishop e3 is, yeah, for sure the idea. And maybe now I can go queen b7, no?
Yeah.
e5 is hanging, but I think some of the white pawns are also hanging. Or also knight g4. Oh yes, knight g4 was an idea here, I remember. Bishop e3, knight g4 is the idea that black would have, no? And keep harassing the bishop. Okay, so let's go back to our game. Pawn takes b5, bishop b5, bishop a3. What are we going to do here?
I mean, we could continue the plan about playing knight e6. Maybe also with the idea about playing, let me just see if I can. Maybe we could go with c5 after having the knight on e6, or maybe put a rook in the c. Probably we want a rook in the d file actually. Maybe putting the a rook. And I mean, I just want to play c5 to make this bishop on a3 look really stupid. But of course, the pawn needs to be protected then.
Knight e6, of course, I think is the first move you have to consider here, but you have to assess knight e5 first. What happens if white just takes your pawn? Doesn't care about your knight getting to f4.
Then we could move this knight and then it would be with the discovered attack, but I'm just not sure if there's any good place for it. Or we could just continue by putting the knight on f4 anyway. Then he has to move the knight. Maybe going back. Then maybe I could give a check here, but maybe it's just a check and not anything really dangerous. But I mean, then I get my knight to f4, but of course it's not protected on f4 anymore, so that's not so good.
Yes, but I think, well, the thing is that here black is playing for initiative. Now after knight e6, knight e5, you do get all your pieces into play, and it feels like you're going to have some pressure. It looks like there is compensation for the pawn. That is the idea. Otherwise, you could just play. Sorry?
I mean, once we get the knight to f4, it maybe putting a rook on d8 would be a threat, because it's not. I mean, you can't of course go queen c1 because of knight e2. So yeah, the rooks also become quite active.
Yeah, it feels like white cannot find good squares for the pieces. That's the point. You could of course play this normally if you don't want to play knight e6, and you could play something like a4, just to make this bishop bad here, not allow bishop b3, and play this with bishop c6, the way we were seeing before. Attack e4, maybe put pressure on b2, and so on. But if he played knight d8, it was for knight e6, so he was not going to give up on this idea that easily. And you are right, the idea is to bring the rook to d8, knight goes to f4, and it's not easy. Knight e5 was played. You can go knight f4 here, as you were calculating. But the thing is that after knight f4, white doesn't have to go back. If knight f3, then yes, rook d8 looks really good. I think you can also take on e4 in that position. If knight f3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
You can also take this pawn.
Yeah.
But he could go knight g4 instead. Because knight g4 leaves the square f3 for the queen. That's the point. And white wants to have a queen f3 idea in case of taking on e4. Oh, knight e4, queen f3. This would not be great. It's getting complicated. I think we still have a knight e2, but it's definitely getting complicated. We don't have to take on e4. We're probably still doing fine here. But starting with rook d8 is much better. Because again, the queen does not have good squares. He has two squares that look okay, c1 and f3. I don't think b1 is a square you want to have your queen on.
No.
He played queen c1, so let's see queen f3 first. I think he didn't like queen f3 very much because there will be ideas of knight g5 all the time, hanging in the air. Like for example, here we have the move bishop takes f1 first, because this move forces white to take with the rook. Why? Because if king takes, we are going...
Queen b5 and the knight is hanging.
Yeah, we're going to have ideas with queen b5. Not right away because of knight d3 and white still defends, but you could insert knight g5 in between move. And now it's really complicated for white. If queen g3, I will just take the pawn. That's great. And if queen f4, then you do go queen b5, no? And you pick up the knight. Now if knight d3, you can take it. That's the difference. So going back here, let's see rook f1. The point is that now e4 is not defending anymore, and you can go queen b5. Same idea. And you activate your pieces. Here rook d2. Where is the bishop going? Bishop d1. And here the queen is doesn't have many squares left. Queen h4, bishop h6, for example. Again, I think this looks really good for black, and it's just a pawn down.
Yeah.
Good pressure.
Looks like a compensation.
Looks like good compensation, yes, I think so. And probably e4 is not so easy to defend in the long term. Let's see the game. Let's see what happened after queen c1. Queen c1 makes sense because it controls f4, no? So you don't have the move knight f4 right now. So what are we going to do?
You could maybe take here. I'm not necessarily want to give up this bishop, but just for somewhat the same reason that we can then capture here.
We can do that, yes. That's a way.
But of course the bishop is quite nice on b5. So maybe it's a shame to give it up. Maybe we could play g5. Just really trying hard to get knight f4 to work.
Yes, I know you want to go knight f4, g5, okay, a candidate, and what else is there?
We could go with this knight to h5. That's maybe a little bit less weakening. Then we threaten the knight.
Yeah.
On e5, and we're ready to jump on f4.
Yeah, that's the best way to go. Knight h5 with the idea of knight f4. He has to go knight f3. This knight goes to f4. Knight g3. And now again he shows his brilliancy. Because here there are many good moves, and probably one move that makes a lot of sense is bishop h6. Now you want this queen is on c1, so you want to have threats with knight h3. But here he plays h5. And the idea behind h5 is really amazing, is what makes this so brilliant, because I'm not going to play h4, I cannot do that. There's a knight on f3. The point of h5 is going bishop h6 as well. And when the queen moves away, we have the move h4, and then the rook will come in on d2. And that's going to be very close to winning. Very deep ideas, yes? From black here. So, okay, here he plays h4, white. It's difficult to find another move besides h4. Okay, makes sense if black will want to play h4 at some point. And bishop h6.
Yeah.
Bishop h6. Now we are threatening knight h3, winning material. He goes king h2. And just king g7.
And then the bishop is protected.
Yes. Now he has to go queen b1. And now we improve. Queen b6. The point f2 is now weak. Now what is he going to do about this pawn? And in the game he went king g1, which looks like a normal move, but it's a mistake. What do we do here? How do we punish this?
I mean, I'm looking at taking on g2, but just because we have another knight that could jump back here, but then if he goes back, get a check here, and then if he can't go, then we have two pieces on f2.
Yes.
So take. He has to take back, I guess, otherwise it's just losing material. And after check here, he needs to still defend f2, and no matter if he goes to g1 or f1, no, he can't go to f1, of course. We have
just g1, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes to g1 and then knight h3.
Great, Sophie. You're on fire with the tactics.
Thank you.
King takes, knight f4. And then f2 cannot be defended. Let's see, king g1 is what Sophie was looking at, because this move defends f2, but knight h3 does the trick. No? And then queen f2 is coming anyway. Nothing he can do. He can maybe come back, and then queen f2. And if he takes, we have bishop d7 is what we have. I think so. Yeah. Game over. In the game, he played king h1 here, but of course this doesn't help much because queen f2 is going to be over as well.
Yeah.
Knight is hanging and g2 is also hanging. So here white resigned. Both knights are hanging, yes. Yeah, that's true. So where this ended, and when we look, it started here, no?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Such a normal middle game position. And knight d8, knight f4. Very nice ideas.
Really, where you think that black will just really focus on the queen side, but it's it feels like he thought that he already has, some space there, and then he just took made actions on the other side of the board.
Yeah.
But it's impressive how fast it just comes to life.
It's very nice how they build. No, Alekain also build the attack very nicely. We saw last week. And then there was another game that I wanted to show, which is very famous as well. But just so you see the brilliant ideas that he had, I chose to start this game from the beginning because, well, this is an opening that you play, Sophie. We are going to see it from white side. And it's an accelerator.
Oh, it's from right sides. Okay, yeah.
Yes, you play it with black, but I thought it's important to know these ideas. Knight c3. I know you don't play this exact line, but it's always good to...
It's very similar to what I play.
Yeah, I think you play so far. No, here bishop e3, knight f6.
Yeah.
It's just here where everything changes because here black goes knight g4. Okay, so sorry, this is a game between Neshmetinov and Chernikov. This game that we are looking at now, and the previous one was Neshmetinov with black against Boleslavsky. Yeah, against Boleslavsky. Okay, so here knight g4. This is also very common in the Maroczy structure.
Yes,
you probably know it from there.
Larsen variation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was looking at this not so long ago, and yeah, I remember seeing this motive in the against the Maroczy.
Yes, yeah, black has it there. Knight d4, and here he goes queen h4. It's not so popular in this variation as far as I know. Queen a5, castles, and here bishop f6 was played. And there are many games played from this position, but this was the first time this idea was seen over the board. And when you think that this was played in the 1960s, no, they didn't have the computers that we have now. And here he goes this.
Wow.
Yes, this is a very famous game. Queen takes f6.
I have seen this before. I have seen it must be this game.
Yes, now it's well known, but at that time it was really, wow. Just queen f6 and you sacrifice. Sorry?
Still pretty wow.
It's pretty wow, yes, still. But the idea is that, okay, you get only 2 pieces, but the dark squares around the king are a problem.
Yeah.
For example, if they go pawn takes, bishop d4, and then knight d5 is coming.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look easy at all to play with black. The computer gives it equal, size 0-0, but I think this is very, very difficult to play. So here, he plays first knight e2, just forcing the white knight to go to e2. So he's going to have to waste a tempo. Here he goes back to c3 with the idea of knight d5. Same story. Rook e8 and knight d5. And even with another move, black will not defend easily here. Rook e6 and bishop d4. Very good compensation here. King g7. Yeah. And he plays almost every move is that the engine suggests, like every first move throughout the whole game, which makes it really even more amazing, I think. How he finds everything. Yeah, maybe the greatest queen sacrifice in history. Queen for...
somebody writing that in the...
Sorry?
Yeah, I think it's the sort of move that when you see it, you're just so amazed by it. But then just like a few moves afterwards, you can really see that it makes sense.
Yes, because look at black's pieces. You have only 2 minor pieces for the attack, but these are not participating. And here, rook d1. And this rook also joins. The point is to go rook d3 and rook f3. And just like in the game against Polugaevsky, where he plays bishop e6, the only move that keeps the attack going, here rook d1 is the best move that gives the biggest advantage for white. It's amazing.
Maybe he was using it.
I think back in 1960s we didn't have the problem of cheating. No.
That's the thing.
So here black plays d6, which is a natural move, but it's not so precise already because it allows the idea of rook d3. There was only one...
okay.
Sorry?
I was just about to ask how he should have prevented that.
b6. With the idea of bishop a6. If rook d3, now bishop a6.
Yeah.
Okay, white doesn't have to play rook d3 here. There's knight c7 as well, but... well, I don't think he wants to give up the knight just yet. But bishop a6 is probably coming and trying to keep the rook out of the game. So let's see d6, because this becomes really interesting. Rook d3, bishop d7, and here rook f3. He could have started by knight f6 as well, but as I said, I had the feeling throughout the whole game that he really cared about these two pieces here. He never really wanted to give up any of them. And the bishop on b3 is also very important. Okay, so now he goes bishop b5. And this is an important moment because, well, my rook is hanging, and the only way to defend the rook, if I move it, I have to go all the way to b1 or a1 probably. Otherwise, black will attack it again. Rook d1, there's bishop e2, and rook c1, there's queen d2. Now the queen gets in. So c4 looks like the only way to defend the rook, but then the bishop is stuck on b3. No, it's not something that I really like here with white. c4 can be played, but here he goes bishop c3, forces the queen to d8, and takes on f6. Forget about the rook. Bishop f1 loses though, because now you have this knight g4 check, and there will be a mate happening, no?
Yeah.
King g8, first take on e6, and if they take back, there's knight h6 mate. And here there was only one defense, but I think it's also quite difficult to find all the best moves here for black, and that's rook c8. And what you want with black is just get this bishop on c3. Next move, rook c3, and release some of the pressure. It's not clear at all, no, still. But this keeps the game going. Bishop e2 was played. Now let's see, what do we do here with white?
I think this is the first move I want to look at. So we're guiding h6, and well, if he puts something, if it goes in between, we could probably take the rook, and then bishop f6 would be threatened. Oh, so I don't think he can do that. So I think he has to go back. And once he goes back, we can give a check. Or do we want to give a check? He goes here. We take here. And I mean, then in the end, if we just take here, is it not?
I think our rook is also hanging at some point, maybe, no? The rook on f3. After knight h6, king f8. Maybe after bishop...
check here,
yeah.
Check here. And then I wanted to take an f7 now with the rook.
Sorry, okay, yes. You wanted to take on f7 first.
Yeah.
King e8 and bishop e6.
Yeah, maybe even move the rook.
Let's see it. Let's see knight g5, knight g4 here. So knight g4, and if king g8, I want to play knight h6. Okay, but maybe I go king f8, no? So I don't help you out.
You go king f8 straight away.
Yeah. I don't want that knight on h6. It seems
so
annoying.
Here you go straight here.
Okay, there's also knight e8 as a move. What other moves do we have? Let's look at the candidates first. So knight g4, knight e8 was also suggested.
Maybe we could go... no, I don't think that's working. I was looking at rook h3, but he can just take the...
On f6, yeah.
I mean, I think any knight move should be a candidate move.
Probably, yes.
Almost. Maybe not knight g8, but besides that. Then we could go here, because then we're not allowing him to, but it...
Just king g8, yeah?
King g8. Maybe we could take here. Take. But then he ends up being no, then he ends up being up in material.
There's another suggestion in the chat. Knight h7.
H7. With the idea about rook h3.
Something like that, yes. Just to open the h file. Rook h3 it's not exactly the idea. The idea is that we'll take on f7. The thing is that if he takes, let's see this, rook h3, he can still go bishop h5. No, so he's defending, but you can take this pawn. And then you take the rook. And the king is also very exposed here. You have bishop, you have some checks, bishop g7, bishop d2. Now if here, bishop g7 looks good. g4, and it should be over.
Now we can get the queen if we want to.
And bishop f6, yes. So, yeah, he cannot take. He goes king to g8. And now rook h3. And you start creating threats on the h file. If bishop f1, knight g5.
Yeah.
There we go. And he played rook e5 in the game. And f4. Now you see what I was talking about. The bishop on c3 is a big piece in the attack. So he never wants to give up that bishop. Black took here, king takes. And now rook c8. Again, he might want to remove the bishop from c3, but no. Hold on. I'm going to keep this bishop. Of course, it's not the only way to win here. I think you could simply take the rook, pawn takes e5, but it's about keeping the pieces that will attack, that will give mate in this position. He played b5 and knight g5. It's really very difficult to defend from now on. He tried this, and bishop takes f7. Rook takes. What do you do here?
Oh, sorry, just jumped. Rook h8.
Nice.
Yeah.
Typical, no? Typical idea. King h8, knight f7, and you get the queen back. And here he's got two pieces for the rook and the pawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
King e2.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one pawn, but I think more will fall. a7 is under attack. d6 is weak. Here black resigned.
Yeah.
This is a very nice game. I know it's a very famous game as well, but I couldn't just forget about it.
Well, I'm glad you showed me, because I think I saw the I saw the queen stack once, but I don't think I ever saw the whole game.
Yeah, there are many games played from this position with queen takes f6.
Yeah.
And I think that's why black forgot about this line. It's not played much. But yes, many good games. And there are many other good games. There's another win against Polugaevski with white. That's also beautiful. He also beat Ciocâltea, a very famous Romanian grandmaster, with the black pieces in Bucharest. That's also a very good game.
The one time he was outside Russia.
Yes, the one time he was outside Russia. Yeah. That's no, he's got amazing games, and I suggest you keep looking at his games, because he's got this brilliant ideas, and he's very, imaginative. All the ideas that he finds are really not easy and not obvious to spot in the position.
No, it's a very nice way he has of just going very straightforward in positions where you wouldn't think that there were anything.
Yes, yeah. He plays for the initiative in most of the games. He's got many games where the sacrifices are not correct. You're going to see, if you turn on the engine, you'll see that he's losing, but you look at the board and it's not clear that he's losing. The position is a mess, and he ends up on top usually. From
Can be a pretty big disadvantage of the computers, because sometimes when I look at openings and I analyze some position and I see the computer maybe it doesn't like it, then I'm like, then I can't play this. And it's a bit of a shame, because maybe it would be really fun to play that position, and in practical it would be better.
Yeah, I think you always have to actually put it on the board and think about the position.
Yeah.
If you think that the position is interesting, there are many positions where the computer will say it's equal, but sometimes it does not look, or it looks easier to play for one side than with the other. There are many such positions.
Yeah.
And with this, we have finished this this lesson, and we are going to move on to our next player with the next stream, which will be announced. I have a long list, but I have to check who is next on my list.
Okay, so we're moving into well, this hasn't been completely, we're in the 60s, 50s now.
I think Tal and Petrosian are there on my list now.
Yeah.
I'll just have to check who will be next and decide. And I will see you guys next week at the same time, or at the stream. Thanks.
Yes. And I hope my internet has been okay, but it will be for sure good next week, I hope.
Because you're finally home after what, 2 months in Norway?
2 months in Norway, I'll be home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Norway is a nice country.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, thank you guys very much for joining our stream, and we hope to see you next week. Same time. Sorry?
I'm just saying thank you for the tips in the chat. Helped when I got stuck.
Yeah.